In this video, I'm going to explain stamp letters of credit, everything you need to know about how they work to make money out of them, and I'm going to debunk a lot of junk stories out there. You've got to watch this video. Hi, I'm Taimur Zaman from Allfunds Global, previously known as LearnAtCredit.ai. My organization helps successful businesses leverage their assets, their cash, their stamp letters of credit, and so on to access capital that the banks are primarily providing to their elite customers. We can do this because of our relationships with banks, because of volume of transactions we do, and because of our experience in this area. The capital that our clients are getting allows them to put money to expand their business, allows them to put money to create new businesses, allows them to get money to buy auxiliary businesses. On this YouTube channel, I debunk a lot of fake programs that are out there. I introduce clients to existing elite programs that banks are primarily offering to their elite customers. I provide customer case studies, testimonials, strategies, walkthroughs, and so on. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, you may want to do so now. Full disclosure, I'm not your lawyer. My firm is not your accounting firm, your advisory firm. The purpose of this video is strictly for education and entertainment purposes. Today, one of our member clients asked me, hey, Taimour, can you explain stamp letters of credit, what they are, how can I leverage them for my benefit to access a credit line or cash out of it, and why are they such a desirable banking instrument? Stamp letters of credit have been in existence for a very long time. The reason that they're desirable banking instruments is because of all the ways you can leverage them to your benefit. You can transfer them, you can hold them as collateral, you can put them into trade, you can liquidate, you can do so many things with a stamp letter of credit that you cannot do with banking instruments. For the purpose of storytelling, I want to tell you a story because once I tell a story, I think it resonates a lot better. Years ago, when Donald Trump was the president of the United States, March of that year, oil prices hit a negative territory. In Toronto, Canada, a billionaire, this is a true story, a billionaire decided to take advantage of market conditions, knowing that oil prices will go up. And he wanted to use his billions of dollars to get into his business and leverage the situation for his benefit. He started to look for a storage tanker, somebody who can produce a storage tanker to put oil in it. And after calling around, he found a storage tanker in South Africa. For the purpose of this story, I'm going to use the word $100 million. Imagine the guy in South Africa quoted $100 million that he wanted to build a storage tanker for the billionaire in Toronto, Canada. Now, put yourself in the shoes of the billionaire. If you are a billionaire, would you send $100 million willy-nilly to somebody you've never met in South Africa, praying and hoping that they're going to build a storage tanker and send it to you? Probably the answer is no. And if you are a storage tanker producer, manufacturer in South Africa, will you build $100 million stamp letter of credit without having any kind of a guarantee? Putting it on a ship, sending it to a guy in Toronto, hoping and praying the guy in Toronto would then pay for the storage tanker when he receives it? Probably no. So one of the benefits, massive big benefit of stamp letters of credit is that stamp letter of credit is a guarantee for a bank to pay for something if the buyer defaults. That's the benefit of a stamp letter of credit. So in this case, the billionaire picks up the phone, he calls his bank, he says, hey, Mr. Banker, I want you to issue a stamp letter of credit to this company in South Africa. The banker says, Mr. Billionaire, you have, let's say, $2 billion in the bank account. I'm going to block $100 million. Imagine a certified check, like a certified check. I'm going to block $100 million in this account where the beneficiary of the stamp letter of credit is going to be the company in South Africa. Billionaire says, fine. The bank then issues a stamp letter of credit to the beneficiary in South Africa. The fee, the fee for issuing a stamp letter of credit is anywhere between 1.5% to 2% of the face value of the instrument. That's the cost of issuing the stamp letter of credit. So now the guy in South Africa receives $100 million stamp letter of credit. What it means is that now he can go buy the raw materials, hire the labor, build the storage tanker, send it to the guy in Toronto, and if the guy in Toronto doesn't pay, he can just go and demonstrate or present the same amount of credit to the client's bank, in this case, Bank of Montreal, who issued the same amount of credit, and pick his $100 million out, and that's the guarantee for payment for him. So now he feels comfortable doing that. So now I'm going to give you, with that in mind, I want to talk about some of the most commonly SBLC terms out there in the market for your knowledge, for your information, so you can learn how to leverage it for your business. The first common term that I hear a lot is a SBLC lease agreement. The other word I've heard is Leased SBLC Monetization Agreement. Those are common standard terms that I've heard where our members will say, Taimur, what is this and how do I benefit from it? I want to go back to the South African guy. The South African guy now has a contract to build a $100 million storage tanker. Imagine he already has money in his bank. He already has the labor hired. He already has the raw materials. And somebody gives him a standard of credit. That's an asset. It's a $100 million asset somebody's given him. What is he going to do with it? He doesn't need the cash. He's already got the people to hire to build that out. So if he has the asset and he doesn't have an immediate need for it, what he may elect to do is his choice. What he may elect to do is to rent out that asset for some cash. That is called a lease agreement or a lease SBLC monetization agreement. That's what he will do. Now, to put it in layman terms, imagine you have 3 cars in your household and your father, your brother, your cousin drives over and gives you a car or lends you a car for a month or 10 months or something like that. Somebody has now given you a car. What are you going to do with the car? You're going to leave it in a driveway for it to collect dust? Or can you rent out the car on the Uber system or something else like that and make money on it? This way, while you're sleeping, you're making money while you're sleeping if you rent out that asset. And that's what's called leasing an SBLC. So when somebody gives you a standard of credit, in this case, the guy in South Africa, he got a standard of credit from his client. It's a two-piece document standard of credit, generally speaking. He may say, okay, this standard of credit is transferable, it's cash back, so on. So let me rent it out and make money on it. So that's one option the guy in South Africa has. Prices will vary. He may charge 4%, 8%, 15%, 70%. He may charge various amounts of, like he'll look at the market price and look at what's the maximum amount of money he can get for leasing the same amount of credit. And he's trying to look for a guy or a company that can benefit from renting that SBLC from him. And that's what's called Leased SBLC or SBLC lease agreement. That's what that terminology means. And that's the benefit to the guy in South Africa. Now, that comes version 2. The guy in South Africa gets the contract, he gets the same amount of credit, but he doesn't have the cash to hire the people. He doesn't have the cash to buy the raw materials. He doesn't have the cash to build a storage tanker, to put it on a ship, send it to Canada. He just doesn't have that. So he needs capital. SBLC is a 2-page document. Really, that's all it is. Somebody gave him a 2-page document, and this guy needs to convert the 2-page document into cash. So how is he going to do that? So option 2 is he can go to his bank, a bank in South Africa, a bank in Europe. He can go to a bank, a commercial department, and say, I want to open up a commercial account, assuming he doesn't have one. I want to talk to the credit department, and I want to give this standard of credit, and I want to borrow money, or I want to get a credit line from it. So then he goes and deposits this amount of credit in that bank, and he gets a loan on that. This is oftentimes referred to as a standby letter of credit financing. The other word for it is common is called SBLC financing, but that's what it is. Is I, as a business owner, need capital. I don't need a piece of paper. I need capital. So I'm going to go call HSBC, Barclays, ING, whoever. I'm going to say, hey, I want to deposit this amount of credit, and can you give me a loan against it? So the bank will then take the SBLC. This is why SBLC is such a desirable banking instrument, because banks leverage this or use this amount of credit as collateral. So if he was going to deposit $100 million amount of credit, A European bank, on average, depending on market conditions, will loan him up to $400 million in form of a line of credit loan that he has to pay back, but they're leveraging that sum of credit to give him that money. So that's the benefit to the business owner who needs to turn the SBLC into cash. So the next term that I hear a lot about is SBLC discounting. Clients will say, Taimur, what is it, SBLC discounting? What does it mean? How do I leverage it for benefit? What does SBLC discounting mean? In general, SBLC discounting means that somebody gave you a certain amount of credit. You want to turn it into cash. You may or may not have a banking relationship with one of the top 20, 40 banks in the world. Maybe your business is in South Africa and your local bank in South Africa is not a accredited bank. You are nervous about giving a non-credit bank $100 million sum of credit from Bank of Montreal. You may be really, truly in a location called South Africa dealing with non-credit banks, and you feel nervous about depositing your sum of credit with non-credit bank and getting a line of credit loan on it. Maybe you don't have a relationship with a HSBC or Barclays. And in that case, you may be looking for something called monetizer. So monetizer is somebody who will buy the sum of credit for you at a discounted price. They will leverage it in their own benefit, and then they'll give you cash for it. I want to give you an example of how that will work. Imagine at Allfunds Global, we have a custodian account with one of the banks. Let's just imagine Wells Fargo. I have a custodian bank, I have an insurance wrap, I have a whole bunch of things with Wells Fargo. And the deal I have is a private deal between me and my bank. It has nothing to do with you. It's a private deal between me and my bank. It has nothing to do with you. But the deal with my bank is to say, hey, man, if I deposit an asset like a certain amount of credit, can I get a line of credit at 10 times multiples or 98% multiples? So some version of that, some kind of agreement private agreement I have with my bank. And that custodian contract between me and bank is signed. So I will be what's called a monetizer. And I will say, hey, Mr. Klein, if you give me a certain amount of credit for $100 million, I'm going to give you a $300 million, $200 million non-recourse loan. So it's a loan that you don't ever have to pay back. And that's what I'm doing is I'm now taking your certain amount of credit. When I deposit with my bank, behind the scenes, this is something you wouldn't know. My bank on $100 million is loaning me $1 billion is a loan that my bank is going to give me. Do you know what I can do with $1 billion? I can do a lot of things with $1 billion that I cannot do with $100 million. Like really, I can do a lot of things. So I'll tell the client, Mr. Client, if you give me $100 million of credit, I'll pay you a discounted price. I'm not going to give you $100 million. I'll pay you maybe $80 million non-recourse loan that you never have to pay me back. The benefit to me is when I get $100 million, I'm going to get $1 billion in the form of a loan that I can invest in real estate, I can invest in crypto, I can invest in whatever things that in the world that I feel like investing that makes sense to me. I don't need to disclose that to you. But really, the benefit to you is you got $100 million sum of credit. I'm going to pay you $80 million cash. I'm going to cash you out. And so the benefit to you is if you're the South African guy, somebody gave you $100 million, you need cash right now. You don't need a loan. You don't want a line of credit. You just want cash. And $80 million cash to you today sounds like it's a great deal. So you'll give it to me, the monetizer. I'll pay you that $80 million. You can now buy your raw materials, build your container, send it to the guy in Toronto. And now here comes the payday. On the payday, when it comes to payday, I am the one who's walking to the client to say, please pay me the $100 million. And if the client doesn't want to pay me the $100 million, I'm the one who goes to the bank and provides the SBLC, and I'm the one who gets to pay the $100 million. So that's a massive benefit to me as a monetizer because I make money left, right, and center. There's a lot of benefits in being an SBLC discount provider, if I can say that way. The next term that a lot of people ask me is SBLC monetization companies. To find a legitimate monetizer, you're really looking for a needle in a haystack. Let me say this again. To find a legitimate monetizer, you're looking for a needle in a haystack. A lot of legitimate monetizers don't have $100 million in their bank account or $2 billion in their bank account collecting dust. They just don't. So what they do is, when you send them the same amount of credit, the monetizer has to verify the instrument, and who has to verify the instrument is the banker on the receiving side. So in the example I provided, if I'm the monetizer, my bank's Wells Fargo, when Wells Fargo gets the instrument, the Wells Fargo banker has to verify the instrument, calls me and says, we verified the instrument, we're ready to pay you $1 billion or whatever it is. That takes time. That doesn't happen in 2 minutes. That doesn't happen in 20 hours. That takes a few days. It takes 3 days, 5 days, 15 days. But that's when I get the $1 billion, and that's when I'm going to send the money, is after I verify and send the instrument. So SBLC monetizing companies, I'll talk about Allfunds Global. A couple of weeks ago, the transaction is confidential, so I'm not going to share the details of the transaction. A client wanted to give us a standard letter of credit, and the client was insisting that they needed to get a loan. Because they were insisting on getting a loan, and they were adamant to work with Allfunds Global, like they didn't want to talk to anybody else. They only want to work with Allfunds Global. We had to become, for us to structure that deal, we had to become the so-called monetizer. So we had to leverage our custodian relationships, our banks, our law firms, to arrange it and structure it so that we become the monetizer. So it comes to SBLC monetization companies, I don't want to put the name Allfunds Global out there, other than the fact that we can do that. We will be one of the, I guess you could label us in that particular transaction, SBLC monetization company. But there are a lot of companies that also offer that service that will either give you a non-recourse or a recourse loan, and a shop run is something I highly recommend. Having said that, I hope I took a world that's complicated and make it somewhat simple to you. And with that in mind, I want to talk about some of the common risks and challenges that people have. The first risk that I see a lot is there's a lot of fraud in this industry. The entry point to get into this industry appears to be nothing. You have a lot of people on Facebook, LinkedIn, on the internet that claim that they're issuer of a legitimate SBLC issuer, or they're monetizer of a legitimate monetizer, or they're broker to a legitimate issuer, or they're broker to a monetizer. And that's one of the biggest risks that I find that clients have. If you want to leverage a standard of credit to your business benefit, whether you want to leverage a standard of credit for credit enhancement for your business, or you want to leverage a SBLC to get a loan or a line of credit in amounts that your bank is not giving you, or you want to get an SBLC to go into trade, or whatever the deal is with you, and you want to get into a space, if you're a small business owner, my recommendation is to ask a lot of questions from the people you want to work with. The what, the who, the when, the how, like all of these things are things that you want to ask for. In my organization, one of the things we do to assist clients in this journey is we offer former FBI, former CIA people who work with our clients and do background checking of the SBLC issuer and the monetizer for a fee. We do it for a fee, where we help support the client on the background checking of the SBLC issuer and monetizer. So you as a client would have to pay for a fee upfront to us, and you will have to give us a contract from the issuer, the monetizer, and we can verify that for you. And that's one way we support you. Another common challenge that I see is we have a lot of clients that get nonsense offers, like they really get nonsense offers from some fraudulent artist who is either trying to steal money from the client or they're trying to steal money from the system. Let me say this again. We see a lot of nonsense offers from clients who are trying to steal money from our clients, or they're trying to steal money from the system. Just yesterday, I'm pretty sure it was yesterday, we got a call from a dealer broker. They had purchased a domain like SBLCmonetization.com or SBLC, some fancy domain they had purchased. And because of this domain, they were getting hundreds and thousands of traffic to their website. And they were allegedly claiming that they can help in monetizing SBLCs or issuing SBLCs. So something like that was their storyboard. And they were looking for a legitimate provider, and they reached out to my firm and they were interviewing us. As I understand, we were one of the top 2 of the 40, 50 providers that they had interviewed. We were on the top 2 of trusted providers for them. And the broker said to me that they have an issuer. Listen to this, please listen to this. The issuer said for $150,000 upfront fee, they're going to give, the issuer is going to issue a $500 million standard of credit for one of the top 20 banks. And all the broker had to do was bring a monetizer to the table. I want you to listen to the numbers and listen for something called common sense, because a lot of people don't have common sense. I have no idea how they even graduate from high school. Forget university or college. Just forget that piece of it. Just listen to common sense. I want you to picture yourself. Imagine yourself. You're a billionaire. Just imagine you're a billionaire. You have $2 billion. Would you provide $500 million out of your $2 billion? So you have $2 billion. That's all you have is $2 billion. Will you block $500 million for somebody you've never met, bunch of joker brokers primarily, for $150,000? Or yeah, $150,000 is the money you have to put up front, and the issuer will give you a SBLC for $500 million. When somebody tells me a nonsense out of their mouth, we have an issuer, they will issue a $500 million Maverick credit from one of the top 20 banks. All we have to do is give them the monetizer's contact information and pay them $150,000. That's when I just hang up the phone. Nobody I know who's legitimate is going to block $500 million for $150,000. Let me say this again. I don't know anybody in the right mental health state that will legitimately that have $2 billion will block $500 million for $150,000. I don't know how else to say that. And the amount of nonsense I see from joker brokers that see fancy flyers, flashing the cards. I don't know what the broker thinks or sees. And then they call us and they say, we have an issuer, we have a client, and for $150,000, we're going to get a stamp out of credit for $500 million, and we just need a monetizer. That's just nonsense over nonsense over nonsense. My father was a managing director of a bank. My uncle was a senior director of a bank. Some of my references on LinkedIn are banking CEOs. I'm the author of the book, Structured Finance Demystified. Like, the amount of nonsense out there is just, the garbage out there is just like nonsense. I don't know any human being. Like, I'll just stop at that. I'll just like, anybody who says for $150,000 we'll give you $500 million stamp out of credit. My personal opinion, you should go to All Funds Global. Don't contact us. Don't contact us. Go to the bottom of our website and we say fraud, FBI, phone number, report your whatever fraudulent crimes. Please click on that button. Don't contact Taimur Zaman. Don't book a consultation with call. Go to our All Funds Global website. Go to a fraud department at the bottom of our homepage. And report fraud all day long. Please do that. For my sanity and for sanity of all my legitimate competitors out there, please do that. Just nonsense over nonsense. Any legitimate issuer that I know, whether they want to give you a $20 million stamp of credit, $50 million stamp of credit, $5 trillion stamp of credit, 500 million, pick a number you want. Any legitimate issuer that I know of that wants to send you an instrument, legitimate people, the first thing they're going to ask is show me a bank comfort letter, not proof of funds, Why? Why is proof of funds not something that people take seriously? Because anything that I can digitalize, I can manipulate. Let me say this again. Anything that I can digitalize, I can manipulate, period. Any legitimate issuer that I know of will say, before I send you $100 million or $50 million or $5 trillion, I want a bank comfort letter from the bank that's going to pay me for the instrument. Or I want to block my fee. So if the issuer of $100 million stamp of credit is charging you $50 million for issuing $100 million stamp of credit, that sounds legitimate to me. They will say, I want to block $50 million in your bank before I send $100 million. That guy's legit. That guy is legit. This is as legit as they get. Like, there's no nonsense. Give me $150,000 or give me $5 or give me whatever the number is, and I'm going to give you $500 million. Like, this nonsense. Anyways, so any legitimate issuer will want you to provide not only proof of funds, but they will want to block the money on whoever who's paying them, or they'll want to block the money ahead of time before they send the instrument. That's what I want to tell you. A lot of my members, one of the challenges that they have before they meet us is they want to get into this game and they go into a circle and a circle and a circle. And the circle is they'll go and talk to an issuer, and the issuer will say, well, before I send you an instrument, give me a KYC of the guy who's going to pay me, show me proof of funds, I want a bank comfort letter, and or I want to block the funds. The poor entrepreneur doesn't have $50 million. They don't have $80 million. They don't have $20 million for them to block that money. And then so then they go look to the monetizer, and then guess what the monetizer says? Monetizer says, well, if you're the one who's sending me the instrument, give me your KYC. Well, our clients are not the ones sending the instrument. They go, give me your KYC, give me your CIS, give me your RW from the issuer, from the banker that's going to issue it. So if you're the client, you must have the banks to give me an RWA. So this just becomes a chicken and an egg story that a lot of our clients face, and they go through a circle over and over and over again, and they deal with a lot of joker brokers, unfortunately. And all these joker brokers come up with who have not a day of their life, they've worked in a bank, an actual bank. And when I say bank, I mean the credit department of the bank. Instead, the poor client meets all these smart joker brokers that sound really smart. The guys now worked in this bank, and then they inherit all these points of views and opinions. So that's one of the challenges a lot of our clients face. One of the things I'll tell you, do not go price shopping, and do not go process shopping. Do not go price shopping, do not go process shopping. Oftentimes you're wasting a lot of your time and energy. I know a lot of joker brokers out there who've been in my industry for 6 or 7 years. The guy hasn't earned a penny because he's inherited a lot of points of views that are not true, and they're just wasting cycles of people's times. What you want to look for is a legitimate issuer. You want to look for a legitimate monetizer. You want to look for people that can give you references, and that's my recommendation. The next question that I've got from some of our members is, Taimur, we've seen a lot of lawsuits on various issuers and monetizers that were recommended to us. What can you help us with? I now want to talk a little bit about my competitors. So I want to take a minute and tell you a little bit about my competitors. Some of my competitors are legitimate competitors. Some of my competitors are legitimate competitors, and they're on Facebook, and they're on LinkedIn, and they're legitimate competitors. I've been in my business for a few years, actually more than a few years, so I know my business, I know the industry landscape, I know who my legitimate competitors are, and I know a lot of the fraudulent ones. I want to tell you a little bit about the world of internet. This is the facts about the world of internet. The longer you are in business and the more followers you have on social media, the more followers you have on the internet, unfortunately, you'll attract a lot of fraud artists. That's just the nature of the internet. Here at All Funds Global, if you're going to work with All Funds Global as your trusted issuer, monetizer, coach, mentor, whatever that deal is, you will know you're dealing with All Funds Global. You will know you're dealing with All Funds Global. You'll have a face-to-face conversation with us. You will know who we are. You'll know everything about us. I want to talk about my competitors. Some of my competitors are legitimate competitors. They're hardworking competitors. They work very hard to deliver results. And I can tell you a lot of them, of my legitimate competitors, actually deliver results. Unfortunately, they have been on the internet for a long time, and they've got people that have pretended to be them. They have people that have tried to use other people's identity. By the way, this happens in celebrities all day long. If you're a celebrity, or if you're Apple computers, as example, you'll have people that pretend that they're selling Apple products at a much cheaper price, or people that will pretend they will create celebrity profiles so they can sell you Bitcoin garbage stuff. This happens to our competitors as well, where fraudulent artists will pretend to be our competitors and will try to steal clients' monies, and that's the nature of the internet. And that's just like really unfortunate to hear that, see that. If you ever see these things, if you come across one of our competitors that you feel your intuition says that guy is real, my recommendations are talk to the issuer, talk to a monetizer, talk to whoever you want to work with, and say, listen, before we move forward, I want to show you the garbage that's on the internet about you. Can you explain the story? Can you explain the story? Can you explain the story? Right? So if you can ask for the story and the story sounds legitimate, I think that's a good way. You can always reach out to All Funds Global and use our FBI people to do background checking on our competitors. That competitor more likely will have a law firm that's represented them. Reaching out to the law firm partnership with the competitor. So you don't want to do it behind their back, but you actually want to call them in partnership with the competitor to ask the law firm, can you verify if this issuer has issued instruments, or if this monetizer has monetized instrument, is some of my recommendations. My name is Taimur Zaman from Allfunds Global. I hope I helped demystify the world of standard letters of credit, how to leverage it for your benefit. If me and my team can be of service to you, we'd love to talk to you. You will always have to sign up to become a member, book a consultation call, and you have to have lots of fun working with us. Thank you so much for your time. You're one of the law firms we use when it comes to international financing, international funding. You deal with a lot of foreign clients, especially in the United States, given your international attorney. Is there anything you can say from the years of working with me and my team?
Yes, Taimur, thank you. I have, I guess for several years now, worked with your company and your team, and one thing I have found you to be is extremely transparent, extremely professional, and someone that has shown a great deal of trust both to me and engenders trust from me. And it has been a pleasure working with you. I find you to be extremely efficient. You're always managing things. I know you multitask a hell of a lot. Managing a lot of different things in a very organized manner. I mean, like when we get onto a phone call, I get advance notice of it, and so we can match. We don't have to go back and forth. It's efficient. It works. And as I've said before, I find you extremely trustworthy, transparent, a pleasure to work with, aside from being extremely knowledgeable in your area.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So in this part of the video, I want to answer some of your frequently asked questions to us and my team. The first question I get a lot is, Taimur, we've learned a lot from your YouTube videos. We thank you. We want to learn a little bit more. How is there an opportunity for us to learn more? What you have, what you don't have, maybe there's an opportunity for us to meet with you and your team. How do we go about doing that? If you want to learn a little bit more about us and our content, our strategies, our templates, first of all, I've published a number of books. So feel free to go on Amazon, type my name, Taimur Zaman, and I'm sure you'll get access to a fair number of books or ebooks or digital books, hard copy books that I've written. Become a member of Allfunds Global. You'll get access to our webinars. A lot of the feedback I get is some of the content we've published on our webinars. You can't get this content anywhere else, and it's truly unique. Our community feels a lot like I feel blessed, but also our community feels blessed in terms of the content and strategies they get access to. Finally, we have VIP events. Not always do we disclose that to the general public. So if you're booking a consultation call with us, please make sure you ask us about any of our VIP events, banking events, and how you can get a private invitation to that. The next question I get a lot is, Taimur, why are you charging a consultation fee? You are missing out of the market. Why are you guys charging a fee when you can make so much money on arranging a transaction? Another similar question I get is, if you guys are making so much money, why are you charging a couple $100 for a call? Like similar questions around that. There's three answers on why we charge a consultation fee. The first one is my intention on sharing a lot of our content. We share content that's worth hundreds of millions of dollars for free on YouTube. What that does is it attracts a lot of junk leads. It attracts people that are tire kickers, people that are shopping around. Unfortunately, some people that just have mental health issues. And so by charging a consultation fee, it removes the fraudsters, people that are, tire kickers that are out of our ecosystem. So that's part one. The second part is when we charge a consultation fee in many of the countries that people watch our YouTube videos, we within Allfunds Global do not have license, dealer broker license to sell securities in that country. By charging a consultation fee, the client is paying us for our expertise, our experience. Imagine you're walking into a lawyer's office and you want the lawyer to consult with you on a particular transaction. The lawyer charges you an upfront fee. And so by us charging an upfront fee, it removes any barriers and any financial regulator to tell us that we're soliciting. So those are two primary reasons on why we charge consultation fees. My name is Taimur Zaman from All Funds Global. I hope I helped demystify the world of standard letters of credit, how to leverage them for your benefit, book a consultation call, and you have to have lots of fun working with us. Thank you so much for your time.